Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Maybe the facility you manage could establish new revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services. Cart King International can be the answer to your needs. Cart King is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile coffee, food, and retail carts and kiosks. Cart King has been working with clients and corporations across North America for 20 years, providing innovative designs, custom manufacturing, and timely delivery. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on our website. Please visit us today at www.cart-king.com or just call us at 1-877-986-7771 and get your sales rolling.
If you find yourself in need of legal representation, it can be a very stressful time in your life. In my career, I have dealt with thousands of lawyers, I've dealt with thousands of law firms, and I can confidently recommend to you Keith M. Davidson at kmdlaw.com. Available 24 hours, 7 days a week. Just log into kmdlaw.com. That's kmdlaw.com. Or you can call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. That's 833-4KMD-LAW. Personal injury, wrongful death, STDs, sexual assault, car accidents. They handle it all efficiently and professionally. It doesn't matter how imposing the opposition may be, because the team at kmdlaw.com are battle-tested and fierce. They will not stop until justice prevails. Go to kmdlaw.com or call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. If you're in for the fight of your life, stop screwing around and contact KMD Law. PureSoapFlakes.com, 218-568-2525. Have you ever heard of Castile Soap? Pure Soap Flake Company handcrafts fine soap bars, laundry powder, and concentrated soap flakes using organic vegetable oils from their northern Minnesota facility. Bathe your body and wash your clothes with Pure Soap products that are free of fragrance, GMOs, palm oil, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic additives. Keep it clean, folks. Pure Soap Flake Company products are kind to living creatures and sensitive skin, safe for drains and waterways, and work great in high-efficiency washers and top and front-loading machines. They have a little promotion going on. Contact them to order some soap. Mention the Opperman Report. You're going to get a free gift. They're going to send a little extra soap, travel size, soap bars and laundry soap, cleaning soap flakes. I've been using that stuff all day long today. Great stuff. Order today at puresoapflakes.com or give them a call, 218-568-2525, 218-568-2525. Pure Soap Flake Company is a proud member of the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild. The Opperman Report is brought to you by Aquadam.net. You can give them a call at 707-764-2119. A flooded home is never easy to deal with. You're left with the mess to clean up, the insurance companies to deal with, and not to mention all the memories, the precious memories that are lost in the flood. You can never replace those. And Aquadam can be a tool in your arsenal to protect your home and property from the floodwaters. The cofferdam is filled with water to control water and is reusable as long as it's taken care of. It can protect your home or business from rising floodwaters like a dam, but without the beavers. It can also be used in construction. If you need an area to be dewatered, an Aquadam can do the job. An Aquadam was used at SeaWorld in Orlando for the Mako roller coaster ride during the coaster's construction by dewatering the work area. An Aquadam is now dewatering the work area at San Antonio SeaWorld for their newest roller coaster ride. An Aquadam has been used in many construction projects all around the U.S. and all around the world. Now give Aquadam a call, 707-764-2119. You can look them up online at aquadam.net. You can find them on Facebook at Aquadam Inc. You call them up, you email them, you tell them Ed Opperman sent you, and they're going to take 10% off the price. Aquadam.net, 707-764-2119.
It's the Opperman Report. Join digital forensic investigator and PI Ed Opperman for an in-depth discussion of conspiracy theories, strategy of New World Order resistance, high-profile court cases in the news, and interviews with expert guests and authors on these topics and more. It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. You can find me at Opperman Investigations and Digital Forensic Consulting, either through my website, emailrevealer.com, or just contact me directly at oppermaninvestigations@gmail.com. If you like our show today, be sure and check out our Patreon. We put up 8 hours of new content on Patreon every month, and you can go there and sign up, become a member. And you can hear these shows we do here, too, Monday to Friday, without commercials. We cut out the ads and we make them available to you for free. Also, ad-free, I meant. Nothing's free in life. Okay. And if you go to our Spreaker and listen to our archives, you can find our guest today that we're having back, I think for the third or fourth time, John Barbour, from the old reality TV show Real People. He just wrote a book called Your Mother's Not a Virgin, and we've never really gotten into his documentary film series about the Garrison tapes, which was part one, and then the American media and the second assassination of President John F. Kennedy. John Barbour, are you there?
Oh, yes. I'm absolutely delighted to be talking to you again, Ed, under these circumstances. You're in Florida. I don't know what it's like there. I'm in Vegas, where for the first time in weeks we've had spring weather. I've been on the golf course almost every day, but now it's a little chilly. And I'm delighted to hear, I've been reading your posts about Cindy being in Washington, D.C. and going to school and doing well. So good for you and good for her. And since we got to mention your daughter, I'm going to mention my son. He just was sent by Netflix to Spain. He was in Spain last January when COVID hit. And he was lucky enough to catch the last plane out of Madrid. He's there with his partner doing a 10-part series for Netflix. He returned to the United States, saw a couple of his friends pass from COVID, and then last week he departed again from Madrid, and he's going to be there for, till May. So there you go, bragging on my son. I've met three geniuses in my life. One, of course, was Jim Garrison. The other was Buckminster Fuller, the scientist. And the third is my son. And entirely on my own. My son was the Caucasian Tiger Woods. He was on the news as a golfer when he was 3, and then when he was 4. He shot his first competitive 69 when he was 13 against Phil Mickelson and Bobby May, and Bobby May lost the PGA to Tiger Woods. My son won the Canadian National Juvenile when he was 15, and I wanted to retire and become a caddy. And we tried 5 years to get him on the Nike Tour, but he couldn't putt. He has the greatest natural golf swing in the world, but he could hit 18 greens and shoot even par. And Justin Leonard, in competition, hit only 5 greens, shot 5 under par. So on his own, my son kept a journal about and on his own, he went to Hollywood. And there was no way that his father could help him because I was persona non grata. I mean, I was the most controversial guy who ever had a show in Hollywood. I was fired from my first show, the AM show in Los Angeles, for trying to book Jim Garrison. I lost Real People, the most successful show in American history. I was the creator, co-host, and producer because, again, I tried to tell Jim Garrison's story. I was 10 years a film critic at Los Angeles Magazine, first person to review movies on television, the only one on television to win Emmys for both news and entertainment. So I had a lot of burnt bridges, and my son went back there a dozen years ago all on his own. And in the last 4 or 5 years, look what he's accomplished. He became co-executive producer and one of the head writers on CSI. He became co-executive producers of Criminal Minds and wrote the last 2-hour episode. Is now doing this thing for Netflix. So that's it. Bragging on my son, whom I absolutely and totally adore. The happiest days of my life, actually, not when I was number 1 on television. It was when I would take my son to his junior golf tournaments. I spent every moment I could with. And the interesting thing about it, Ed, was I never wanted a child because I came from a very, very dysfunctional family long before it was popular. I was born in the Salvation Army charity ward in Canada. And it was so dreadful, the fights between my mother and my father, that in 1939 he joined the Canadian Army because he thought it would be easier to go and fight against Germans. And then my mother and my mother brought uncles into the house, so they were grapes. They came in bunches. They came to booze with her, to bed with her, and beat her. So I was on the streets and I was 6 years old. So when I met my wife, I said, I don't want a child, because I had no idea what kind of father I would be. It came about by accident. And I must tell you, Ed, I'm a non-believer, but all of the fantastic things that happened in my life, I mean, meeting Jim Garrison, being chosen by him over Oliver Stone to become his Boswell and do those 2 great documentaries. Getting real people on the air was an accident. Meeting and becoming Frank Sinatra's private writer for 4.5 years was an accident. But all of the things that were disasters were those things that I planned really well. So there you go.
You know, John, I tell you, I love to hear you talk about your son like that. You know, and because I talk about my daughter the same way all the time. You know, so but also too, talking about fathers and sons, I gave John Barbour was kind enough to autograph his book for me. We went down to the book signing. I met him in person, and I gave that book to my dad, and he loves it. He won't even give it back to me. So Your Mother's Not a Virgin. We can definitely have the Ed Opperman Sr. Endorsement of the Your Mother's Not a Virgin.
I love it. And the title came about because of when I was trying to book Jim Garrison on my show. I had the most successful morning show in America. It was a local show, the AM show in Los Angeles. It was ABC's first shot at doing a talk information show in the morning. And it came about because you might remember, Ed, we used to have something in broadcasting that doesn't exist anymore. It was called the Fairness Doctrine.
Right.
And that meant that minority groups or people could challenge the licenses of local stations if they didn't feel they had enough representation. And the Chicano community in Los Angeles was challenging the license of ABC, so they decided to get rid of their cartoons and everything and do a morning show. And I auditioned against 40 people. I was a stand-up comic at the time, and got that job. And one of the most wonderful jobs it was a dream job for me. I mean, I got to interview Muhammad Ali and Cesar Chavez and Jane Fonda, and I put people who were anti-war on the air. Now, you know that because we had the Fairness Doctrine, I could not talk about my opposition to the war. Because if I did, then the station would have to give equal time to somebody who was for the war. But I could have anti-war guests on, and I had as many as I could. And I believed the Warren Report. I believed the government. My God, why wouldn't I? That Oswald was the lone assassin and that Garrison was a nut. And then one day I'm in Edmund's Bookstore on Hollywood Boulevard. It was across from Musso Frank, a 100-year-old restaurant, used bookstore. And there was a used book called Heritage of Stone by Jim Garrison. I thought, is this the same guy? So I picked it up and started to read it. Ed, I was 4 hours standing right there reading Jim's book, and the next morning I called him in New Orleans. And he answered the phone. There was no secretary, this beautiful bass baritone voice. And I said, Mr. Garrison, this is John Barbour. I'm calling from Los Angeles. I have a very successful morning show, and I just read your book, Heritage of Stone. And he chuckled at it, and he said, oh, John, you must be the other one. I only sold 2 copies. Well, he had this great sense of humor, and that wasn't true because it was a monumental bestseller, and I told him I wanted to book him. And he said, you'll never get away with it. They're not going to put me on television. I said, but I am. I've just won my first Emmy. And he said, your first? Yes. And I said, yes, sir, and I expect to win more. And the FCC commissioner at the time, sir, I call him sir, Nicholas Johnson, the youngest man in history to become head of the FCC, wrote a letter to ABC's president, Leonard Goldenson, saying that they had the brightest, the most entertaining and most interesting host in television in Los Angeles. So I think you'll be in good hands. So he agreed to come on the show. When he finally agreed to come on the show, we started to chat. And he said, John, it's 1970. You know, it's 6 years after the Warren Report. And recent polls out by Harris indicate that 83% of all Americans polled